Hello. Welcome to EDTC 527. My name is Timothy Jenkins, and I'll be sharing with you today all about my lesson plan for the United States Constitution unit. I wanted to pick this particular time in history to do my unit plan of the U.S. Constitution because of the complexity of the material, but also the seriousness and importance of fully grasping everything that's going on for these young kids as they mature into full American citizens with the right to vote in the future. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right into the unit objectives. We have 6 different objectives to meet with this unit. The first one is students will identify and describe the structure and specific functions of the U.S. government under the constitutional republic created by the Constitution, including the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of government. Students will compare and contrast the political motivations, differing climates and environments, living conditions, and other cultural factors that directly influence the convention representatives during the Constitutional Convention of 1787. Students will also compare and contrast other existing forms of government to the American Constitutional Republic and think about how ideas from other governments in the past may have contributed to the ultimate creation of the U.S. Constitution. Okay. Students will demonstrate their knowledge through class presentations on the long-reaching effects of the U.S. Constitution on world governments. And finally, students will debate using their own ideas in groups and conduct a class-wide mock constitutional convention as a final project for the unit. Each group will represent a different former colony at the negotiating table. Okay, so the Common Core standards that we're going to be covering in this unit mostly revolve around our key content area of history, but also in our reading and speaking and listening in other areas. So in our history area, we're going to be covering things obviously dealing with primary, secondary sources, steps in how something becomes history or a bill becomes a law, determining the meaning of words and phrases, how text presents information, integrating visual information, aspects of the text that reveal an author's point of view. So a big focus in this unit is going to be on point of view or opinion versus fact and reporting things as they are. And again, we got into reading level text complexity as more of these standards that we're going to be covering. So in speaking and listening, we're talking about presenting claims and findings, we're posing questions, and we're definitely debating with one another. So that covers a lot of these standards that are being listed here. Okay, we also need to cover our technology standards from the ISTE that we've covered in our class so far. So we definitely hit empowered learner for students using technology to seek feedback and understanding of technology operations. We cover digital citizen, where students engage in positive, safe, legal, and ethical behavior when using technology. We're promoting knowledge constructors who plan and employ effective research strategies. And we're encouraging effective communicators who are choosing appropriate platforms and tools, and they're making original works to show their knowledge in this and what they've gained out of this unit. Okay. And finally, that we're also promoting global collaborators because they're going to be working in teams for many of the activities that we'll be talking about later in examples of lesson plans. Okay, so the technologies we're going to be using in this unit, there's a wide variety from classic overhead projectors to teacher laptops or iPads, individual student smartphones, video DVD players, Microsoft Works. Kahoot is an online quizzing program. Google Expeditions is a new virtual reality program that students can interact with. We have YouTube videos, online interactive games, visual animation programs, PowerPoint, iTunes, and of course Google Earth. So again, looking for a wide variety of different technologies to engage students in different ways. Okay, we definitely want to use Bloom's taxonomy in how we scaffold our teaching and how we build upon each lesson throughout the unit. So in the beginning of the lessons plans, the students will be acting as reporters and focusing just on building facts and understanding of the case. And then towards the middle of the unit, they'll be developing their own points of view and doing their own research. And at the end, then they'll be debating and extrapolating on different ideas and concepts that they support and that they understand. So again, moving from remembering to creating. Okay, and this is also supported by Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. Again, we want to reach out to students that learn in a variety of different ways. That could be from visual spatial to body kinesthetic to verbal linguistic to logical mathematical. So we want to use a wide variety of approaches to reach our students. So let's get into some examples of the lessons. We're going to start at the bottom of Bloom's taxonomy, which is just simply recalling information. We're talking about examples of this would be YouTube videos on the U.S. Constitution, the online quizzing with Kahoot, doing show and tell demonstrations for body kinesthetic learners, developing online timelines, digital timelines categorizing data, and listening to music from the time period through Audacity or other audio programs. Moving up to the next skill level, we're talking about online Jeopardy games, our VR tours, looking into students starting their own online blogs where they keep track of their observations and developing opinions. And we're talking about students singing and examining lyrics themselves from period music and also music from their own era. Okay, strategic thinking, we're upping the game now. We're talking about analyzing Hamilton and assessing motivations behind these characters and how that lines up with what they've learned earlier in the unit about these famous individuals. We're talking visual animation stories, acting out skits, and interactive games online that they can play to challenge their mastery of the information about the different branches of government in the U.S. Constitutional Republic. And then finally, to reach extended thinking, we're talking about putting on our own mock constitutional convention, using classcraft.com, which is a great gamification of education program where there'll be role-playing throughout the unit. We're also talking about detailed posters and class presentations they'll be creating, and online newspaper articles that lay out the facts of how the Constitution was written and sharing their findings with the class. Okay, the three main projects the students will be graded on over the course of this unit to show mastery. Project 1 will be on creating an online newspaper article to showcase their findings and research. Again, a culmination of the section where they are acting as newspaper reporters and gathering facts, okay, to demonstrate the quality of their research, but also their note-taking and their ability to remember key information. Okay. Project 2, they're going to be performing in group presentations as well as producing group posters to hang around the class that share independent research they've gathered about famous people involved with the creation of the Constitution and the key values or ideas they supported while they were there in 1787. And finally, the third project is the actual Constitution Convention itself, where students will act out or kind of reenact the Constitutional Convention. They'll need to fight for their own rights and ideas and structure for their own government, but they'll also have secret assignments or goals that they're trying to reach in their negotiations with other teams. And the different student teams will kind of have secret objectives that they're trying to meet through their discussions with their other classmates. Okay, so what I've learned in building this unit, I've learned definitely a ton. I've learned that Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence helps specialize teaching to meet students' individual learning needs. That I think often as teachers we always think about how did we learn, what worked for us, rather what works for our students. So it really allows us to customize our teaching to meet individual student needs. I learned that constantly reevaluating your own approach to teaching helps improve quality and effectiveness. So you always need to be rethinking about how you're doing things, why you're doing them the way you're doing them, and does it work with the current group of students that you're engaged with. Proper scaffolding of assignment expectations, this is a huge one. Bloom's taxonomy really helped me see how to scaffold things, how to build stuff up and not overburden students or just stress them out in how you present information and how you make it in a really kind of a easy to understand and to develop their thinking on things. And finally, consistent assessment of student achievement levels and teaching methods employed are essential throughout the teaching process. So you always need to be, assessing, re-examining what you're doing, but also how the students are doing, all through the process. I want to thank you for watching my presentation today. I hope I've showed how I've employed Bloom's taxonomy and starting from levels 1 and 2 of cognition and moving up to 3 and 4. How in the beginning of my unit, my students start as investigative reporters just focusing on the facts. Then they move into comparing and contrasting ideas, and finally they demonstrate their knowledge through putting on their own constitutional convention. My goal is to develop my students into critical thinkers, to be able to break apart information that's presented to them in a very investigative way to find out what is the truth and what is opinion, and to treat it as such. Thank you very much for your time today.